Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Yams here. It's been a little while. Today we're going to be doing something I've never done before, and that's me talking about a game. It's called Yams and Ramblings. I can ramble about anything I want, though I really need to fix that fucking banner. We're going to give this a shot and see how it goes. I'm going to be talking about that Final Fantasy 15 demo, which came out not too long ago, after that cringe-inducing press event.
And what I gotta say, the nerdiest thing I liked about this is when they were all sitting around playing cards. Four bros broing out, four bros broing out, four bros
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your hosts, Greg Miller and Tim Geddes.
What's up? Thank you for coming out on this lovely Los Angeles night. I tell you what, Final Fantasy.
My God, this is crazy,
Final Fantasy.
Before we get on to the video proper, I just want to say that I am not the biggest Final Fantasy fan. There are a few entries in the series that I do genuinely really enjoy, but while I do respect the franchise as a whole and what it means to the gaming community, it's just not a franchise I've ever been particularly attached to, so sorry. I have been very curious about Final Fantasy 15 though, given its overly long development cycle, and I'm thinking this game is either going to be pretty good or a fucking travesty, and I'm eager to see how it all pans out. 10 plus years is a long fucking time to spend on one game. I'm not doing this live. I recorded my gameplay first, and I'm just going to be commentating on it as I go along. Hopefully the proceedings don't result in anything that embarrasses me too deeply. Well, any more than I already embarrass myself. So anyway, without further ado, let's get this started. So yeah, the very first thing we see when we get to the title is this very cutesy looking fox thing that plays quite an important role in the demo. He is sort of our guide through what is essentially the main character here, Noctis's dream world. Why it needs to be a super cutesy fox, I couldn't say. It just wouldn't feel very anime without a kawaii maho kitsune. Kitsune, kitsune. Fox. Fuck. What we're going to notice right off the bat is that the game looks very impressive, graphically speaking, and the animations are all quite smooth and appealing to the eye. Aside for a few things, like these laughable water splashes, this isn't a problem. It doesn't affect the game overall, it's just a nitpick. I normally wouldn't bring it up, but when so much effort has clearly gone into the graphics and presentation, things like this just stand out a bit more than they normally would. I can't speak for everybody, but I just find myself desensitized to, good-looking graphics, just because more and more so, they seem to be a crutch for developers to rely on to compensate for rather lackluster game design. So while yes, I can say that this game is very, very pretty, it is, I would say, pretty standard and underwhelming in the gameplay department. The control is pretty nice when you're roaming around, although if you've ever played a JRPG, you can expect it to feel a little finicky. I mean, not horrible, but I think you kind of know what I mean if you played a JRPG before. Like, there's just something about the way that they control that is a little jerky. There's not really a whole lot gameplay-wise to do in this demo. A lot of it is just a way to kind of show. It's just a way to show everybody their fancy pants new graphics engine, and the very fact that we're in a dream is a way to show really exotic environments to see what it is that the system is capable of rendering, while also allowing for these weird little magic plates that you're going to see me stepping on which kind of change the weather or speed up time, just various weird little things like that. You can get away with that in a dream while also being able to, flaunt how pretty your graphics are. It's very, very light on gameplay. They give you these little collectibles, whatever these things are, or to kind of, keep you weary, to kind of keep you looking around the environment, which you can kind of tell is their goal, is just to get the player to take in the scenery. Now we're coming up to combat here, and combat is easily the most underwhelming aspect of the whole demo for me. I don't know if this is fully representative of what the final product is going to be like. Maybe that's partly why they are releasing this, not just to, show off how pretty the game looks, but also to get some feedback. I would hope so, because at first glance it looks like something akin to what you'd see in Kingdom Hearts. A bit of a button masher with RPG elements, stats to monitor, things like that. But what I'm actually doing, despite the fact that you're seeing multiple swings take place, is I'm not pushing the button multiple times. You actually just hold the attack button down, and the attack animation continues for as long as it's pushed down. This works similarly with the dodge button or the defend button as well. You just hold it down and the character will automatically dodge. It will detect the exact moment in an enemy's attack animation where a dodge needs to be performed, and it will proceed accordingly. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of playing the game, you know, because it's not you who's choosing to pick every single individual strike. The game is just, you know, entered into an attack animation, and it's kind of blah. It's kind of boring. Because you're just stuck. It feels as if my input as a player is secondary to the presentation of the whole thing, which is a bit disheartening coming after, you know, 3 Final Fantasy 13s. We've entered a new area now, and the demo takes place over 3 separate locations, just to show some of the capabilities of the graphics engines, you know, things like the lighting and various physics and particle effects. So there's really nothing to do here. These switches that I've been stepping on also occasionally will cause a Noctis here to transform into a vehicle, or in some cases, what was, for me, easily the most entertaining part of the whole demo, a crocodile. I am a child, and it is the little things like this that get my perpetually unhappy face to crack a smile. And you all thought it was cool too, don't lie. Another problem with the combat is that when you get into tight areas like this and you're locked on, the camera has a tendency to get really janky. You can pull in close, obstructing the position of other enemies. You can't really monitor what they're doing. Not that it really matters too much in this demo, because none of the enemies really pack that much of a punch. I imagine when you're actually playing the game and you have health to worry about, that you're going to want to be able to know where the enemies are so that you can perform dodges when necessary. Although again, I must stress that the dodging is very unsatisfying in this game, as it just results to holding a button down and the game will do it for you. You can try to push the button down, but for me anyways, it didn't feel quite as efficient as just holding it down. It seems as though the game is being built around this idea of just holding down the attack and dodge buttons. In this demo, you're given a few toys to play with. A toy sword and this funny little squeaky hammer, which just dominates everybody. It staggers them. They're gonna flip right the hell over and just beg for mercy. So right now it sounds like I've only been complaining about the game, and I guess that's not untrue. So let's try and talk about something that is undoubtedly a positive. The music is very nice. Composed by Yoko Shimomura of Kingdom Hearts fame. She's doing excellent work from what I've heard so far. If the game itself turns out to be disappointing, I think it's safe to assume that we will still have an outstanding soundtrack. Anyways, we're proceeding to the final area of the game now, and in the long-running tradition of demos, the final area is dedicated to a boss fight before it concludes. I'm playing this in English right now. I haven't heard too much of the English voice cast, but so far, at least what I've heard in this demo, the English voice cast is pretty good, save for this one particular line reading.
I'm not afraid.
I'm not afraid. He delivers an impassioned line reading, priming us for the battle ahead before going full edge. This is the first moment in the game where combat has consequences, but again, it's not difficult at all, because all you're doing is holding down the square button, as you can see right here. It says it in all caps, hold square to defend. It doesn't feel as fun when you're not doing it yourself. I actually tried at a few points during this fight to just tap the square button, but again, it just doesn't feel as efficient as simply holding it. Anyway, after a tensionless battle, the boss comes down, and Noctis returns to being Prince Shota. Another thing I must say, that particularly in this area, is that even though I would say that so far I like the art design of the game, it is a bit jarring to see some of this really grandeur architecture intermixed with really modern-looking roads and cars that we just see in our own world driving around. It almost has the vibe of like a really bizarre car commercial. Which would almost make sense if you think about how much that particular car has been displayed, and then when you flash back to that embarrassing conference where they actually showed that they were making a car based on the one in the game. Like, Jesus, Square, is there anything you're not trying to peddle to us? Anyways, you step on this final pressure plate, and it will take us to the end of the demo. After Kawaii Kitsune, Carbuncle, or Carbuckle, whatever his name is, escorts us to the car door.
Wait,
Carbuncle, there it is. What a funny name. But not before a prompt to pre-order Final Fantasy 15 now. As it stands, having played this demo, I can say with confidence that I'm unimpressed thus far. It's definitely not something I'm going to be rushing out on launch to go pick up and buy for $60. But we'll see how it turns out. You can't really judge it until it's finished. Anyways, I think that's going to wrap up my thoughts on the demo, so I thank you very much for joining me, and I'll catch you later, okay? Ta-ta.